Arizona Sunshine 2 is finally launching on all platforms with a lot of excited people, some pretty positive reviews so far, but also people begging the question, is it worth it so far to jump in and get it on the Quest 3? This of course coming alongside the news that people are saying that it looks virtually the same on Quest 2 and Quest 3.
And it seems as if there is currently no real difference between the Quest 2 and 3 versions.
Although the developers said that day one Quest 3 players are going to enjoy an upgraded resolution, while post-launch the Quest 3 upgrade will include real-time shadows on dynamic objects, and that's supposed to release later this month. But as we've seen in the comments and on Reddit, people talking about how they don't love that they jumped for the Quest 3 already, and that a lot of games had to wait to have the enhancements for it, or the games felt like they were still developed primarily for the Quest 2. So I'm curious, how are you feeling out there? Quest 2 is still by far the biggest VR platform, and as we reported, it's even outselling the Quest 3 right now because of that much better price point. Do you think developers should be catering at all to the Quest 3 yet, or the fact that they are at least trying to get these modes out within weeks of launch is enough? The other big unanswered question today is a lot of YouTube reviewers who have already gotten their reviews out on Arizona Sunshine have said that they got through the campaign in as little as 4 hours.
4-5 hours is the right time to tell the story.
Where this game was initially promised to be about 3 times the length of the original, with websites like Push Square and IGN saying 12 hours or even 17 hours. But players on Reddit expressing disappointment, why would they buy a game now, especially if it's not enhanced for the Quest 3 and it's that short of a campaign. I will say personally, I'm still getting this game either way. It hasn't launched yet, so I haven't been able to play it yet. I got countless hours of fun out of original Arizona Sunshine, and that wasn't just the original campaign. That was going back and playing the campaign again, co-op, playing horde mode with friends. There was a lot more to the game than just the campaign, although even with the first one, I wished the campaign had been a lot longer. What do you think? And speaking of Quest 3 enhancements, we finally have a date on the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners enhancement. This one originally showed off at Connect really gave us a lot of excitement about the Quest 3's capabilities because the difference in the Quest 2 versus Quest 3 graphics looked really impressive. Although it was originally slated to launch in the fall, probably alongside the Quest 3, it got postponed but is now arriving on January 16th, 2024. This of course was announced during Upload VR's Winter Showcase. If you missed that, there was a lot of game trailers and announcements. I'll leave a link in the top comment and in the description to that in case you want to check it out. Although another example of people having to wait for the Quest 3 Enhanced Edition, I know personally I'm waiting for this one, and I probably hadn't had a chance to get back into Saints and Sinners anyways, but seeing how much better this looks, I'm pretty excited to check this out next month. With these questions of Quest 3 patches and games that are launching, especially from these bigger studios, it has a lot of people asking what is going to be the difference between Asgard's Wrath 2 on Quest 2 and Quest 3. Over on Reddit, some of the producers weighing in, mentioning that they are under NDA but trying to share what they can, and saying that playing the game on Quest 3, it will be 90 Hz native, there's no asynchronous warp, but in intense moments it will throttle down to 72 frames per second, where the Quest 2 is going to be locked in at 72. And with some of these questions answered and some media getting access to it, so far the reviews are still positive, although even on Mixed News talking specifically about the graphics, they've said it actually doesn't come close to Assassin's Creed Nexus, saying it does have visual strengths but many flat, muddy textures, and although Assassin's Creed Nexus may suffer from the same problems, it disguises them much better. This could be relating to the fact that Assassin's Creed doesn't have to have as much of huge render distances because there are buildings typically in your way, where Asgard's Wrath 2 is going for more of that open world desert feel. Other reviews over on Gfinity saying although the visual quality is lower, it really doesn't matter too much. The gameplay, the big adventure story is making the game still much better, with another really positive review. It definitely seems like when we get a first-party title from Meta, they are finding ways to make the Quest 3 version better and get it out alongside launch, which is good to see. I will say this whole holiday season has started to feel a lot better with game launches, like we're getting some of those big blockbuster type games we've been looking for. Let's hope that carries through the new year. And speaking of more games coming out, Lego Bricktales is launching. Lego fans everywhere have been highly anticipating this game, hoping that we can finally do some sandbox Lego building of whatever we want. And sadly, that's not exactly what this game is going to allow us to do. More of a narrative-driven story game. There is times where you have to build, and you can build however you want within a certain confined space, and then you have to use those builds to solve puzzles. Unfortunately, reviews so far keep bringing up kid-friendly, family-friendly, and bringing up the fact that there is zero combat in the game, meaning this may not cater to people of all ages, although even with zero combat, it is rated everyone for mild fantasy violence. I got to play a little bit of this in demos back when I was at Connect, and it felt like between the tutorials and the dialogue, it was definitely catering catering to a much younger audience, I could see where hopefully the game would open up later and be more playable. That said, my time in the demos didn't really have me wanting to play more, but other people who had skipped over the tutorial and gotten further in the game said that it did open up enough that they wanted to play it more. I really would just love a sandbox Lego game that has physics built in where you put propellers on devices and make them bigger, you can make them fly. I do appreciate how this has puzzles to keep people engaged as to why they're building, but I'd love to know what you think out there after hearing what's going on with Lego. Is it still something top of the list for you to buy? Or if you've already got it by the time this comes out and played it some, how do you feel about it? Last night, the annual gaming awards went off and we did have a category for best VR AR game of the year. Now the nominees seem to all be Sony PSVR 2 exclusives, but it was up against Gran Turismo 7, Humanity, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, and Synapse. Resident Evil Village did take home the best VR AR award for game of the year. Congratulations to that studio. What games do you think will be in next year's awards though? We talked about the game Mannequin a few months ago when it got revealed, and I also revealed the Mannequins are one of those things that I have always found really creepy and never liked at all. Well, this game is finally getting some VR multiplayer play tests. They are closed tests, they are open to a limited number of players, and some of them are taking place as soon as tomorrow. This is an asymmetrical game where you're going 2v3 in multiplayer, and the idea of the Mannequin is at points, if you're trying to hide from the monsters, you have to stay really still, and then they won't be able to tell you apart from the other mannequins. An interesting and new take on something that we haven't really seen in VR yet, which does have me more interested. I'm excited to hear after the playtests start what some people think of it so far, because this game is definitely on my list to keep an eye on. More and more we've seen free social multiplayer games make ways for their creators to monetize, and now VRChat's paid creator subscriptions are entering full release after shortly being in beta. Now basically with VRChat credits, VRChat users can buy these subscriptions that can grant access to things like subscriber-only content, VIP rooms, special items, or access to events, and much like other programs we've seen, anyone can buy a subscription, but selling them is limited to those who have already been approved through the game. We've seen this along the same lines over at Horizon. People get paid who create rooms, and then more and more people show up to that room, they can make more money. The Rec Room program has something similar. I think it makes sense with these big social games to keep the game free to as many people as possible, but then add these incentives to actually help the creators who are working hard to create rooms people want to visit to make money off of them. But I'm curious, if you're in these a lot, what do you think about this? Do you think these paywalls could block people out from seeing cool things? Could they make the platforms eventually less interesting to people because a lot of the best rooms would end up locked behind paying? Although Horizon Worlds has been used to doing this for a while, they are offering something new with members-only worlds now for clubs and communities. People can only be 18 plus, but they can be assigned to be allowed into these worlds, up to 25 in one room at a time, but up to 150 members, making for some possibilities for exclusive clubs. It's kind of an interesting thing to see, although I do feel like this could lend more towards exclusion and keeping people out. But I know that any kind of online club or even VRChat worlds can be very hard to moderate the kind of people that come in and out. But it shows that Meta is continuing to push forward with Horizon Worlds, no matter how many people are hanging out in it or not. Anytime I hear co-op in VR, I get excited, and the fact that Arizona Sunshine 2 is dropping with it. Now Green Hell VR, survival game out in the rainforest, is dropping co-op next year on both Quest and PSVR 2. And this isn't just 2-player co-op on Green Hell, but up to 4 players working together. I personally can't wait for this. Not only does this sound fun, but also probably really funny for a lot of the creators out there who like games like this. I remember so many videos of people playing The Forest together in VR, and it was just absolutely hilarious to watch. As we get more news on this, or if they do officially announce it for Steam, which isn't confirmed yet, we'll let you know that too. And of course, some of the really big news this week, Resident Evil 4 VR mode coming to PSVR 2 though. We've had it for a while in the remake on Quest, although that was pretty much a port of the first version, where PS5 got the new Resident Evil 4 complete remake, and that's coming to VR 2. Really excited to get my hands on that one, try that out. Remember right now, if you are one of those people who has a PSVR 2 and you haven't gotten it, you can probably find a used copy of Resident Evil 4 itself, since it is a free DLC for that, and save yourself some money on it. But with that, it really feels like games, there's a lot of good things to announce, a lot of exciting things coming, and a little bit less of the games that launched that are big that we were expecting being disappointing. So all good news for the industry overall. What good news are you excited for, or what other news is going on out there? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you once again for being here with me, and apparently Willow for this entire thing. My left arm's completely asleep. But I will see you in another reality.